doing is studying and practicing and revising. Okay, so these are the most important things. This is the most important thing you can do right now. All right. So yes, we have completed these two acts of the caretaker, and we were heading towards the third act of Harlotte Pinter. Okay, third act of the caretaker. All right. So yes, till now we have as an audience we have obtained, I think, information, the genuine information about these characters. Okay, these development of the character, we have seen the development of the characters. Okay, if we talk about Davis, for instance, right? Davis, we have seen Davis. Okay, we realize that he was a vagabond, a sort of a person who do not have a home. All right, he keep on walking and all those things. He does not have a house to live. All right, he live in roads. But at the same time, we have seen that he is very egotistical. He is very narcissist. All right, he keep on talking about himself. All right, and he make excuses not to leave that house. Getting it? So this is you can say all these things. Okay, the way the characters communicate with each other. Okay, so these things. Okay, when we see the conversation of Davis, we'll come to know that Davis, from his conversation, that Davis do not want to go anywhere. Getting it? He just want to stay. But at the same time, he is not very obliged towards the owners, especially towards Easton. All right, he keep on. You can say he's showing his arrogance to Easton. Maybe that will result to something in the act third. But at the meantime, when we have studied these two acts, all right, we know that Davis, okay, he keeps on talking about himself. Maybe that proves to be a lash after in the later third act, when we will see that when we will head towards act second. All right, so there is a character development of Davis. Okay, for example, if we take example of Easton, when the act 1 started, all right, we see that Easton do not talk. Okay, he does not like talking. Maybe at first we thought that he is not interested in talks of Davis. Okay, because he talks too much. And yes, we know that he is very kind. Okay, Easton is very kind. He is very generous person. He allowed a tramp to live with him. All right, and we see in act second that he even offered a job of caretaker to him. Getting it? And he's like a person who trusts everybody. Okay, he can trust anybody. And yes, he has provided the best bed, or the bed of his brother, to Davis. So yes, he is a Magnanimous character. All right, he's really merciful. He's really kind. But we see the development of character Easton, as we know about the details of this character. And we come to know about the depressing, you can say, depressing background of Easton. Okay, we come to know that how when he was a young boy, all right, he was a minor, he has this sort of mental disease where he used to hallucinate, and because of that he was forced to the mental asylum, where doctors have given him the electric shock. The treatment was of electric shock, and that has made his mind work slow. Okay, his movement becomes slow, and he does not like to attend any of the cafes or talk to people around him. Getting it? And he is very depressed that his mother has given the confirmation for this treatment. Alright, so this was the reason that he does not like to talk with people. He does not want to get in conversation with people. Alright, and meanwhile Mick, and we have seen the character development of Mick. when we talk about Mick is a sort of character which is, we can say he's bold, and he does not trust people like his brother Easton. He keep on you can say investigating about the whereabouts of Davis. He keep on asking, like, just show me your ID and all those things. Okay. And at the same time, he had also asked, there is a, you can say, a class based distinction, where once he thought that maybe Davis can take the flat and rent, and his brother will fix all these things. Okay. So yes, and we will see that there is less conversation between Mick and Easton. Okay. So yes, and all those things. All right. Yes, so there is a lack of conversation between the all these characters, and this is the main problem, right? And yes, we can justify, even Easton can justify that why there is less conversation, because there is a depressing and regretful past of Easton. All right. So okay, so let's study Act Third and see how these characters. Okay, so Act Third, 2 weeks later. Okay, now the time is shifted. It is shifted towards. It is real. You can say. Time is spending, right? The events have shifted towards 2 weeks. Okay. Okay. So 2 weeks later, Mick is lying on the floor down left, his head resting on the rolled carpet, looking up at the ceiling. Davis is sitting in the chair, holding his pipe. He's wearing the smoking jacket. Okay, smoking jacket. It was given by Easton. Getting it? Yes, it is afternoon, and there is silence. So this silence, this is one of the feature of theatre of absurd. Getting it? There is no movement, or if there is a movement, that is very less, very meager. Okay, so there is basically no movement between characters as well. The conversation are very less. Okay, meager conversation. Anyways, so yes, Davis, I got the feeling that he's doing something to them cracks. Okay, he's talking about the cracks, the leaks. Okay, in the roof. We have seen that. The Mick said that there are leaks in the roof. Next second, I guess. Okay, so yes, Davis said that maybe he has done something, because there been plenty of rain in the evening, but the water is not dripping in the bucket. All right. So yes, he has done something about the roof itself. Okay, so you can see it is only Davis who talk. All right, he talks and talks. He talks too much. Okay, so there was someone walking about on the roof. The night, it must have been him. I got a feeling that he stared it over the roof up there, ain't said a word to me about it. Don't say a word. So this is you can say, these characters, they do not talk with each other. Okay, and Davis is a little bit frustrated now, because he does not talk. Okay, he didn't say a word. He didn't answer me when I talked to him. Getting it? He didn't even answer. He don't give me no knife. He don't give me no knife to cut my bread. How can I cut a loaf of bread without a knife? Okay, so Davis should have this. Okay, he can imagine that circumstances when there was no loaf. Okay, there was no bread for him to eat. But anyways, when he is receiving the bread, he is like complaining about it. Getting it? And this will cause him later. Getting it? So just read it. Okay, so yes. So he's like, he does not give me a knife to cut my bread. So how I can cut a bread without a knife? So this is an impossible thing. Okay, so Mick is like, you got a knife. Okay, we have this mention of knife earlier in Act Second, when suddenly Davis he uh, he put a knife on Mick. Okay, he just grabs a knife to Mick when Mick was a little bit messing with him. All right, so Davis is like, what? Mick is simply like, you have a knife. Okay, on all that. He said that, yes, I have a knife. All right. So these are this conversation. He is just complaining about each and everything. He's complaining about knife. Later he's complaining about gas stove. Okay. He's like, it is not connected. How do I know it is not connected? Here I am, I'm sleeping right with it. I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm looking right into the one man. It's right next to my face. How do I know? I could be lying there in bed. It might blow up. It might do me harm. Okay. So yes, so he keep on complaining. Okay, he now he again keep on complaining about blacks. Okay, he again being racist. Couple of week ago he sat there, he gave me a long chat about a couple of weeks ago. Okay, he's just complaining about Easton. He say that a couple of weeks ago. Okay, we can understood that when Easton he has the only long conversation there. It was about one and a half or around 2 pages. Okay, that conversation when he talk about his life. Okay, how he was how he has these hallucinations, and the treatment, the mental treatment he received, and all that. When he talked about it to Davis, okay, he trusted him and he talked about his life. And so he's like, a couple of weeks ago we have a long chat, but after that, since then, he ain't said nothing, hardly a word. Okay, he did not talk. He hasn't said a word to me. He went on talking. He don't care about me. Okay, he went on talking there. I do not know what he was. He wasn't looking at me. He wasn't talking to me. He don't care about me. Okay, he's like, he don't care about me. Okay, if he didn't care about me, you won't be here. All right. He was talking to himself. Okay, he's complaining about Easton to his brother Mick. Okay, and this is a sort of this is ridiculous, I think, because it is not pleasant to backbitch somebody. Okay, backbitching is not nice. Anyways, so he keep doing that. He wouldn't never do a thing like that. Okay, I mean, you come up to me, you ask my advice. He wouldn't never do a thing like that. I mean, we don't have any conversation. You see, you can't live in the same room with someone who don't have any conversation with you. I can't just hang on. Okay, it is a sort of, you can say, it is more of like, maybe the reason is that Easton has an introvert behavior. It definitely lies with the fact that he has suffered so much in his childhood. All right, and because of that, because you can say, once in a conversation he said that, I do not believe that my mother has given the confirmation for that treatment. So basically what he has done, he has lost his faith with family and society. Why with society? Because he does not know that who has done that. Okay, somebody has reported to the doctor that he is little weird. Okay, he has these hallucinations. So there was somebody who has betrayed him. Okay, we do not know that till now. I don't know, we are going to know that after in this act third. I do not know, but yes, definitely we know that somebody has betrayed him. So he basically has lost his faith with his family members. Okay, with the society and all those things. Okay, so this is the reason that he has become an introvert. He does not like to speak. Okay, it's very surprising that he has you know he open up. before Davis. So in this way uh, he is more sympathetic character. Even sympathy, this sympathy generated from inside for Easton than for Davis. Okay, some time that sympathies can be with Davis, but the more sympathetic character will be Easton. Okay, so yes, he is basically manifested this kind of rage against the humankind. All right, so yes, it's it's one of, you can say, a theme. Okay, this is one of theme, the human relationships. Okay, the difficulties in maintaining human relationships. Okay, so this can be a probable theme in the caretaker. Okay, because you can just easily see that there is difficulties in maintaining human relationships. Either it can be Davis and Easton, or Easton or Mick or Davis. There are difficulties in maintaining these human relationships. Okay, so yes, let's read. Okay, Mick. Okay, he's complaining and all that, and then Mick, there is a conversation of Mick. Okay, Mick, he is ambitious, right? He has some plan with this place. I could turn this place into a penthouse. For instance, this room you could have as the kitchen, right size, nice window, sun come in. I have teal, blue, copper, and all that. Okay, so you can read this. Okay, this his plan for renovation of this place. He's just thinking about all that. Okay, what I can do with this place, with this flat. Davis, I say it would man a palace. Okay, so this, I will create a palace. Okay, I will turn this flat into a palace. Okay, just definitely read this paragraph. All right, this is important. Davis, who would live there? I would, and my brother and me. Pause. Getting it? So this is the reality. Okay, so Davis has no room for the room in this palace. Getting it? He is basically a vagabond, and one day or another he has to leave this place. He's not going to live for his whole life with these brothers. Davis, what about me? Okay, he so innocently asked that, what about me, where I'm going to live? Mick quietly, all this junk here, it is no. Okay, he pay no heed to that. Okay, he does not care where this Trump is going to live. All this junk here, it is no good to anyone. It's just a lot of old iron. That's all. Cobbler, you couldn't make a home out of this. Okay, yes, there was a lot of junk. We have seen that in the setting. When we were reading the act, we were reading Act 1. Okay, the introduction, there was a background and setting provided in before the first act. If you want to read that, you can just read and go and read that. All right. Okay, so all this junk here, it is no good to anyone. Okay, he is basically like, with all these junks, with all these old things, we cannot make this flat a palace. All right, so things need to be changed. Junk. But he doesn't seem to be interested in what I got in mind. That's the trouble. Why don't you have a chat with him, see if he's interested? Me? Yes, you are a friend to him. Davis, he is no friend of mine. All right. Again, this conversation. Okay, this the same dialogue, that he is no friend of mine. Getting it? He's there just because of Easton, and he still is like, okay, he is no friend of mine. But Mick, you are living in the same room with him, ain't you? He is no friend of mine. You do not know where you are with him. I mean, with a bloke like you know where you are. I mean, you got your own ways. I'm not saying that you ain't got your own ways. Anyone can see that. You may have some funny ways, but that's the same with all of us. But with him, it is different. I mean, at least with you, the thing with you is you are straightforward. Yes, that's it. You are straightforward. Okay, so what he's just trying to say here, that living with Easton is really difficult. Okay, you cannot understand him. Okay, so weeks passed and still Davis is not able to understand Easton. Okay, the mind and habit of Easton. But yes, so we can just see another thing in here, that Davis, he has his own way of life. Okay, living in the roads, and the way he used to live and the way Easton used to live. Okay, there is a greater difference. You can see the class difference between them. But at the same time, Easton is like Davis, it's like you have your way of life and I have. But when we talk about Easton, he is little different. He indirectly is trying to say that he is little different from all of us. Okay, he is just trying to provoke that thing, that he has some mental issues with him, getting it. And he's just trying to flatter Mick in this way. Okay, that he's little different, but you are good. Okay, you are more straightforward. But with him, you do not know what he's up to half the time. He got no feelings. Okay, so yes, I have already told you that why he has no feelings. Okay, he is just betrayed by the society and family. That's why he got no feelings, and he already told all of that to Davis, and maybe he has no understanding of all that. Okay, that how difficult it is for an introvert to open up his mind and heart to anyone, getting it. It's really difficult. And if an introvert is telling you all that thing, he really, he meant it, and you should have an understanding and emotion attached to that person. But yes, otherwise Davis, he does not care. He does not seem to care, and he does not want to understand it. So yes, basically, when you are sharing your emotion and information with somebody, at least share it with somebody who understands it, getting it. Okay, so just share your emotion with somebody who understand it, rather than mock it. Okay, so yes, so this is the thing. So he is indirectly just mocking him. Okay, that he got no feeling and he's difficult to handle and he does not talk and all that. See, what I need is a clock. I need a clock to tell the time. How can I tell the time without a clock? I can't do it. I said to him, I said, look here, what about getting a clock? Getting it, he is using his flat. Okay, he is using his credentials. He is using each and everything, and he is demanding. Getting it? He is not obliged at the same time. So yes, it is a really ridiculous behavior, and he is not realizing that what I am doing. Okay, he wakes me up in the middle of the night, tell me I am making noises. I tell you, I have half a mind to give him a mouthful one of these days. Mick, he don't let you sleep. He don't let me sleep. He wakes me up. That's terrible. Plenty of other things. They always let me sleep. This is the same the whole word over except here. Getting it? He is just he is just thankless. He's just thankless person. Okay, he do not care that what Easton is providing him. Getting it? He's so thankless. Anyways. So he's like, I have plenty of other places. If he had, okay, just assume that if he has plenty of other places, he might have gone till now. Getting it? So the basic thing is that he is a liar. He does not have any place to go. Okay, and that thing we will also realize it afterwards in the play or in the act. Okay. You're right, it's essential. I get up in the morning, I'm worn out and all that thing. Okay, just read these lines. Okay, so he's just complaining about that this Easton, he does not let me sleep. Okay, Mick, Mick, we have realized that Mick is really patient here. Okay, he's listening him very patiently, and he is rather supporting some of the points. He's we can say he's just polite. Getting it? He's just being polite. He is just being decent to it. Okay, so yes, Davis. So yes, you see, you are the bloke. I want to talk to him. I mean, you are his brother. Yes, maybe I will. Okay, he is just basically like, just you know, you talk to him, and maybe he will change himself and all that. But and he's like, you just talk to him about it. Okay. Davis is so the door bangs, and Mick rise, go to the door, and he exists. Davis, where are you going? This is him, Easton. So yes, he is carrying a paper bag and all that. He takes off his overcoat, opens the bag, and take a pair of shoes. Easton, pair of shoes. Davis, what? I pick them up, try them. Shoes, what sort? Okay, I have told you that again. If he will have shoes, he have to go. Getting it? He don't let it happen. He didn't let it happen. They might do you. Okay, they might fit you. Davis, no, they are not right. Okay, getting it is again like that. No, they are not right. He buy a new shoe for him, but he's like, no, they're not. Why? And they, no, they don't fit. Easton, well, I'll tell you what. They might do until I get another pair. Okay, he is just occupying them, and at the same time, like, okay, they might be all right if till the time I get another pair. Getting it? It's so seamless and so selfish. He just asks credit from Easton, at the same time he back bitches him. Ace just stabbing. Okay, stabbing from behind. Okay, he's like, where is the laces? Okay, laces. No laces. I can't wear them without laces. Okay. Well, now, look, that puts the lid on it, don't it? I mean, you can't keep these shoes on right without a pair of laces. The only way to keep a shoes on is okay. You can, I think, understand till now that he is just making excuse. Okay, he just don't want to go anywhere from here. He just want to be here, okay, and follow this routine and whatsoever he's doing. In Davis, he got all these complaints that these are black, this is brown, or they are no, you can say, laces. Okay, he what he did, he bring some of the laces, all right, from somewhere else, and yes, and he just tried to you can say okay, so yes, so yeah, when he what he has done, that he find the shoes with laces under the bed, but Davis, he basically rejected it because they are not the same colors. Okay, what he has done, that he has he has this laces from some other shoes, and he just tried to pair it with the shoes he bought, but Davis again rejected it because he said that these laces, they were brown but the shoes are black, so they basically do not fit. Getting it? So yes, he keep on complaining, but yes, at the end he said that, okay, I will keep it till I get another pair. Okay, so basically Easton is not obliged to Davis. Okay, there is no need for doing all this that Easton is doing, and for Davis do not realize that. Okay, for the credits Easton is doing for him. Okay, so yes, Easton yes, Easton is like, okay, that's all I got. So yes, Davis started that again, that maybe I go down to Sidcup tomorrow, I'll be able to sort myself out. I have been offered a good job. Man has offered it to me. He got plenty of ideas. He got a bit of future, but they want my papers, you see. They want my references. Okay, everybody wants references. Okay. Easton, he quietly, I have to get down. Okay, this interesting thing happened. Okay, so he was talking. Okay, what he did, what he do all the time, and in the middle of the talk, Easton, he exists. Okay, he just quietly exists there, and he this Davis, he was keep on talking. Okay, he was talking, and in the middle of conversation, even without informing Davis, he just quietly exists. Okay, he exit, he walk away, and Davis do not realize it that he is not there, he's not listening to his whatever he's saying, this crap whatever he's saying. Okay, and he, when he realizes it, he is like very angry, he just angrily cried out, cries, that bastard, he ain't even listening to me. Okay, so one has to realize that Easton is not obliged to listen to the everything he talk. Okay, so yes, so there is blackout, dim light through the window. It's night. Easton and Davis are in bed. Davis groaning. Easton sit down, gets out of the bed, switch on the light, and goes over to Davis and shake him up. Easton, hey, stop it, will you? I can't sleep. Davis, what's going on? Easton, you're making noises. Okay, so yes, he's making noises. Okay, so they are sleeping, and Easton, sorry, Davis, he is groaning. Okay, so he's groaning, he's sleeping, while sleeping he's groaning, and Easton is like, okay, can you stop making sound, because I cannot sleep. You're making sound, you're making noises. Davis, I'm an old man, what do you expect me to do? Stop breathing. Easton, you're making noises, what else you expect me to do? Stop breathing. I'll get a bit of here. Okay, so Easton, yes. So Easton, he basically shake him awake. Okay, and Davis, he become very angry and he yells back. So Easton is like, okay, I will have a bit of air. Okay, I will take some air outside. That means I will have a walk. Okay, and Davis, and what he's going to do now? He started complaining. Okay, so he complained that. Okay, can you just see it? What he's saying? He's saying that I'm not surprised they took you in. Walking and waking an old man up in the middle of night, you must be off your nuts. Okay, maybe you are mad. Giving me bad dreams, who's responsible then for me having bad dreams? Okay, well buddy, nobody cares about your dreams. If you wouldn't keep mucking me about, I wouldn't make no noise. How do you expect me to sleep peacefully when you keep poking me all the time? Okay, and he is like, Easton does not want him to be breathe, and it is freezing. Okay, and he is like, I am tired of you. Okay, I got a friend there, he knows all about you. Okay, he is just talking to himself, what he do all the time, because Easton never listen. Okay, just read this paragraph. All right. Okay. All right, so he is feeling like an animal who is trapped inside a prison. Getting it? Davis has this sort of feelings because he is a vagabond. He cannot be in a place. He is a migrant. Okay, so yes, he feel that why you're treating me like a bloody animal, and I never been inside a nut house. Okay, he's just feeling that he's not free. Okay, there is some unprecedented pressure on him, that he do not feel free there. Okay, he is basically tired of Easton bothering him. Okay, and he is like, okay, just keep your place to yourself, I do not care. And he is being so selfish. Okay, and he do not realize that Easton moves in, okay, and make a slight moves toward him. Davis takes his knife from his back pocket. Don't come nothing with me, mate. I got this here. I used it. Don't come it with me. Mind what you do. Okay, he has just grabbed his knife again. He has showed it to Easton. Okay, Easton. I think it's about time you found somewhere else. I don't think we are hitting it off. Okay, so finally the thing happens. Easton has lost his patience now, and this is the outburst, all right. This is the outburst of Davis. He just outburst everything that he got, and what he did is it was really bad, and it was really, I think, yes, it is very ridiculous that somebody who's giving you place and sharing his emotion, you are just hitting him in like this. Anyway, so yes, Easton is like, okay, I think it's time that you found somewhere else, and I don't think that things are working between us. Davis, find somewhere else? Yes, me? Are you talking to me? Not me, man. You? What? You better find somewhere else. Okay, getting it? What he's doing? He's like, you better find somewhere else. Easton, I live here, you don't. Davis, don't I? Well, I live here. I've been offered a job here. All right, so what he's doing, what he's trying to do, okay, what Mick has done it then here, okay, Mick has intent. Can you realize it? Mick has what you can say, this tricked him. He has just tricked him. Okay, Mick has said that he's going to give him. He is he has made him the caretaker. Okay, and from the above conversation you can realize it that Mick does not care about the words he has spoken to him previously. Getting it? So in the same act we realize that Mick do not care about him when he was saying that he's going to build a palace, and me and my brother are going to live there. And when Davis said that where I am going to live, he does not care. He didn't even bother to reply. But here what Davis is saying that you will go out, all right, I am here, I am offered a job here, and I am the real caretaker. Getting it? So this is basically a trick, and I think Davis, he being a prey to it. Okay, let's see what happened. Yes, well, I don't think you are really suitable. Okay, so Easton basically thought that I have offered a job to him. Okay, I have said him that why don't you be the caretaker of this house. Okay, but so yes, Easton said that no, I don't think you are suitable for this job. Okay, so Easton thought like that, but Davis, not suitable. Well, I can tell you that someone here thinks that I am suitable, and I'll tell you I am staying here as caretaker. Get it? Your brother, he told me. See. Okay, I think it's anyway. Easton, my brother, he's staying. He's going to run this place, and I am staying with him. Easton, look, if I give you few bobs, you can get down to Sitkip. Okay, he's again talking about this money, these coins. Davis, you build your shed first. Oh my god. When I can earn a steady wage here, you build your stinking shed first. That's what. Getting it? He's just insulting Easton. He's just insulting, and yes, he is going to pay for that. I think he's going to pay. Easton stares at him. That's not a stinking shed. Getting it? The importance of shed to Easton. It is really important for Easton to build that shed. Getting it? This is the only job that Easton want to do. This is the most important thing in this whole world that Easton want to do. And he has, this Davis, he has commented on this shed. This about this shed. You have been stinking the place out. Alright? You stink. Okay. So Aston, see, he was being really gentle from the start. When we see from Act One, he did not say that you stink, but so this is a sort of realization, the identification of the character of Davis. Okay, he himself say that I am very, I am very full of manners, and this I am very clean, and I left my wife because she was so filthy. Okay, she used to stink, and she has no habit of this cleanliness. Okay, I am very clean, I have all these manners, all these behaviors, all that thing. But now here we realize, when Easton said it, that it is you who stink. I think you know what stink means. Okay, you are smelly. The smell come from you. And Davis, he has just lost it. I think, yes, getting it. You must have realized in one of the conversation, when Davis said that one of this person, when he said that you stink, and he has this great fight with him. Okay, and obviously now Davis is going to lose it. Okay, he is going to lose his temper. Davis, Easton said, you have been stinking the place out. Okay, तुम क्या कर रहे हो उस पूरे place पे? You are just passing all this stink that come from your body. You do not take baths, and you stink. Davis, Christ, you say that to me? Getting it? So he is like feeling bad about it, that why you say that, and he does not realize that what he is saying to Easton, who was such a grateful person, who was such a nice person, nice, humble, kind person to him, and whatever he said, he does not care about that. But now when he finally said that you are stinking, okay, he is feeling bad about it. Easton, for days, that's one reason that I can't sleep. Okay, this was the reason that I cannot sleep, because you stink. And you can just imagine the condition of Easton. Okay, he was being so humble, he was tolerating him from all these long days, from weeks, and he was so thankless to him. Davis, okay, he was doing all kind of back bitching to him. All right, you better go. So he finally said that it is the time that you should just go. You should find some elsewhere. Okay. So yes. So Davis, I will stink you. I will stink you here mean that I am going to kill you. Okay. He is just threatening Easton. Okay, he has become infuriated. Okay, in fury, he has become so angry. What he did, he put this knife out from his pocket, and it pointed it at Easton's stomach. Getting it? So yes, Easton does not move. Silence. Davis' arms move no further. They stand. I will stink you. Getting it? So he becomes so angry. He is now threatening. Okay, and I think Easton's life is in some sort of danger. You never know what happened in the act. All right. But Easton said, "Get your stuff." He's like, "Just pack your stuff and get lost from my home." Getting it? Finally, there is, you can say, the patience. The patience is now. Anyway, Davis draw the knife to his chest, breathing heavily. Okay, so what he'll do? He is little upset. Okay, you can see that he is little upset when Easton very quietly he say. So Easton, we can see he is a sort of serious character. Okay, he did not mess with Davis like that. Okay, he like make used to mess with Davis. He make fun of it, and he kind of enjoyable. Davis said it himself that he is very straightforward. All right, Easton say, But Easton very quietly he say that he should get his stuff and go. All right. So Davis is little upset, and I think he's little afraid now. He's frustrated. Okay. You ain't got the right. Leave that alone. That's mine. All right, I've been offered a job here. You wait for your brother. He will sort you out. You call me that. Okay. Okay. I think we have lost one page. Okay. So yes, this is the end of yes. I have, I think, one page is lost. Okay. So what basically happened in this act? This scene, act scene second is ending here. So what happened? That Davis he exits, and he was yes. Okay, he just said him that you should wait because you do not have this right. I think you do not have this right to say that. Okay, he does not. Easton does not have the right that to say that he should just pack his stuff and go. Okay, and what Easton said that what Davis said that. That Easton should wait for the Mick, his brother, and he will be sorry because Mick has offered a job, and he was very sure that Mick will, make me the caretaker, and he will kick his brother out. But this is completely, absolutely false. I mean, one cannot kick his brother out, okay, and bring some trump into his house. All right. So basically, I think Mick has a little bit tricked him, and he is successful right here. All right. So yes, we are heading towards scene third. So there is a conversation of Davis and Mick. Okay. So Mick is here, and Davis is complaining, and Mick he is listening it. Okay. So yes, I could tell him to go. I mean, I am the landlord. On the other hand, he is the sitting tenant. Giving him notice, you see what it is. It is a technical matter. That's what it is. It depends how you regard this room. I mean, it depends whether you regard this room as a furnished or unfurnished. See what I mean? No, I didn't. Okay, Mick is saying that he's saying that I know I am the landlord, but he is the tenant. Okay, so he is the tenant, and I cannot just kick him out of the place without giving him a notice. Okay, so this is a technical issue. I have to provide a notice to him. Okay, and then only I can, you can see, kick him out of the room. But Davis do not understand it. Make all this furniture you see in here, it's all his except the beds, of course. So what it is, it's a fine legal point. I tell you, he should go back where he come from. Davis is like, okay, he should go back where he come from. Can you realize it? What he has said? Okay, what he mean in this line is that he should go back to that mental asylum. Okay, this is the place where he belongs because he is mad. Getting it? And this is really ridiculous, and I don't think so that Mick is going to take it. Come from, okay, Davis. Yes, Mick. Where did he come from? Davis. Well, he. Okay, now he realized that he's stuck here. Okay, he has done something wrong. You get a bit out of your depth sometime, don't you? You get a bit out of your depth. That means that you are not in your shoe. Getting it? That you are just going beyond your limits. There are certain limits for you, but you go beyond that limit. So this is a bit out of your limits. Okay, out of your depth. Well, anyway, as things stand, I don't mind having a go at doing up the place. That's what I want to hear. No, I don't mind. But you better be as good as you say you are. Okay. He said that, okay, but you should be better. The way you said yourself, you are good. Okay. Well, what do you mean? Well, you say you are an interior decorator. You'd be better be a good one. Okay. Mick said that you have told me that you are an interior decorator. Okay. He you, what do you mean? A decorator, an interior decorator? Davis, me? What do you mean? I never touched that and never been that. You have never what? Davis, no, not me, man. I'm not an interior decorator. I've been too busy, too many other things to do, you see. But I could always turn my hands to most things. Give me a bit of time to pick it up. Okay. So he's like, no, I'm not an interior decorator because I was busy with other things. I have so many things to do. All right, with my life. So yes, if you give me time, I will do it. Okay, I will learn how to do that. But Mick is like, I do not want that. I do not want to provide you that kind of time. Okay, what I want is a first class experience interior decorator. I thought you were one. Davis, me? Now wait a minute. You got the wrong man. How could I have the wrong man? You are the only man I have spoken to. You are the only one who have told about my dreams, about my deepest wishes. You are the only one who told, and I only told you because I understood you are an experienced first class professional interior and exterior decorator. Getting it to make he is like, okay, I thought that he is an interior decorator. Okay, so yes, so what he has done, can you see that he has just changed the subject? Okay, he has said that you get a bit out of your deep something. Okay, you just do not limit yourself. Okay, you go out of your limits, and he just changed the subject to decoration, and he started inquiring about Davis, that how he is an interior decorator. But Davis, okay, there is a sort of confusion because Mick has thought when Davis was giving some sort of ideas, Mick has probably thought that he is an interior decorator. But Mick, okay, he said that you thought me a wrong man. But Mick is like, you were the only one. Okay, you are the only one about whom I have told about my dreams, my wishes. Okay, so Mick, he protested it. Sorry, Davis, he protested it, and yes. Okay, so yes, he said that maybe I was wrong. Okay, I thought that you were an experienced first class professional interior and exterior decorator. You mean you do not know how to fit teal, blue, copper, parchment, linoleum, squares, and those colors re-echoed in the wall? This was the conversation, getting it? Which we have in the previous act, when Davis was trying to flatter Mick and he was just saying yes, I can do, but here the realization come that Davis is not able to do anything. Davis, now look here, where did you get Mick? I wouldn't be able to decorate out a table in Afro-Mosaic teak veneer, an armchair in the oatmeal tweak, and a breech frame settled with a woven seagrass seat. Davis have no idea what he's talking about. Alright, so yes, Davis is like, I never said that I can do that. Christ, I might have under false impression. But yes, we can realize that Davis has never said all these things. Okay. I think it's just miscommunication. Davis is basically right that he never said that he can do all these things that he's talking about. So Mick is like, I've been under the false impression of you. Okay, whatever I have assumed, it was a false impression. Davis, I never said it. You are a bloody imposter. So you are what? You are imposter. Okay, and now you don't want to say that sort of things to me. You took me on here as a caretaker. I was going to give you a helping hand, that's all, for a small wage. I never said nothing about that. You started calling me names. Okay, now you're calling me names. You're abusing me. Okay, तुम क्या हो? Imposter हो. He said that तुम imposter. You are an imposter. Mick, what is your name? Okay, so Mick is like, he began to question about, he began to question that what your real name is. Davis, don't start that. Mick, no, what is your real name? My real name is Davis. And what the name you go under? Okay, what is your last name? What the name you go under? Okay, what is your assumed name? Okay, so Jenkins. So you got two names. What about the rest, huh? Come on. Why don't you tell all this dirt about you being an interior decorator? Okay, he's like, why you lied about being an interior decorator. Okay, but Davis said that I tell you nothing. Won't you listen to what I was saying? Okay, this was the reason I said you that there is a lack of conversation between both of them. Okay, when Davis speak, Nick do not listen. Nick continuously speaks whatever he is speaking and he does not listen to Davis, and he has just assumed it. Okay, Davis, I didn't tell you nothing. Won't you listen to what I am saying? It was him who told you. It was your brother who must have told you. He is nutty. Okay, so yes, this is I think this thing is going to pause. Okay, now this language, it definitely going to backfire him. He did have tell you anything out of spite. He's nutty, he's halfway gone, he's mad. Basically it means he's mad, he's halfway gone. It was him who told you. Okay, Davis, he just assumed it. Maybe his brother has told him all that. Okay, he is just assuming it. What do you call my brother? Davis, when? He is what? I now get this straight. I have realized it. Okay, so yes, getting it. He called his brother nutty, which is not decent. It is not decent, and Mick, I don't think Mick is going to tolerate that. Nutty, who is nutty? Did you call my brother nutty? My brother? That's a bit of an impertinent thing to say. Okay, this is very impertinent. This is so bad to say somebody like this. This is so impertinent. Okay, but he says so himself. Davis, oh my God, what Davis is doing here? He said that Easton said it himself, that what I am little, but he definitely haven't said that I am nutty, I am mad, but he rather said that I was forced to into all that. Okay, that's why I told you that never share your personal emotions, all those things with somebody who really do not understand, who cannot understand. Never share your emotions with these sort of people. Mick, what a strange man you are. You are really strange. Ever since you come into this house, there been nothing but trouble. Honest, I can take nothing you say at face value. Every word you speak is open to any number of different interpretation. Most of what you say is lies. Obviously, this is correct. Whatever he said, it is a lie. So okay, Mick is now angry, and yes, Mick is angry. You are violent, you are erratic, you just completely unpredictable, you are nothing else but a wild animal. When you come down to it, you are a barbarian. To put the old tin lid on it, you stink from the asshole to breakfast time. Look at it. You come here recommending yourself as an interior decorator, whereupon I take you on, and what's happened? What happens? You make a long speech about all the reference you got down at the Sidkip, and what happens? You have noticed you go down to Sidkip to obtain them. It is almost regrettable, but it looks though I am completed to pay you. I am compelled to pay you off for your caretaking work. Here is the $50. Okay. So yes, I think he is just, I think the work is completed for Davis now. So yes, Miss Mick has in this paragraph basically what Davis is. This paragraph is really important. Getting it? It basically describes the character of Davis completely. He's everything what Mick is saying. He's just thankless person. He's so unpredictable. He is violent. Okay, this is the thought of Mick for Davis. Okay, although Davis has never said that he is an interior decorator, Mick has assumed it. Okay, and that's why he offered the job, but rather he offered the job to, what I remember is he offered the job to Davis because he is good with knives. All right, he was good with knives, and he was impressed the way Davis he put his knife on. Okay, and I don't think he was impressed because he was an interior decorator. Anyway, it's little going too far, but anyway, so yes, whatever you speak, it is a lie. Okay, this is the right thing. I mean he's saying, because there is no proof that whatever Davis said has any legitimacy. All right, so yes, and what he did, he gave him $50, and he said that this is your okay. So yes, Davis was not wrong on this when he told him that thing to Easton, that he is the caretaker, not Easton. Okay, so yes, but Mick, he basically just ended there only. Okay, he just pay him the money, the $50, and he just throw this $50 to his feet. Okay, so Davis, he stands still, and Mick walks to the gas stove and pick up the Buddha. All right, then you do that, you do it. That's what you want. That's what I want. He hurls the Buddha against the gas stove. It breaks. Okay, he's really angry. Okay. So yes, he's just yelling. Okay, yes, this is what I want, and he throw Buddha's statue. Okay, you have heard it when we was reading the setting. There was a statue of Buddha. Okay, so he throw that statue against the wall, and it shatters. All right. Anyone who think this house was all I got to worry about. I got plenty of other things I can worry about. I have got other things. I have got plenty of other interests. I got my own business to build up, haven't I? I got to think about expanding in all direction. I don't stand still. I am moving about all the time. I'm moving. Okay, this. I am not interested. My brother can. Okay, I am not worry about this house. I am not interested. My brother can worry about it. He can do it up. He can decorate it. He can do what he likes with it. I am not bothered. I thought I was doing him a favor, letting him live here. He got his own ideas. Let him have them. I am going to chuck it in. Getting it? He say, see, this character Mick, he is really ambitious. Okay, he got this plan. He's completely opposite of his brother Easton. Easton have the life for Easton is very secured. Okay, he loves living in isolation. But Easton is completely different from Mick. He is completely different from Easton. He speaks of his plan and about the things he is very about, and he say that I got this business, I want to expand my business, I have many things to do and I am very busy. So yes, his brother, he can take care of this house, I have other things to worry about. Okay, so yes, what about me now, Davis say that. Okay, he had this courage to ask that what about me after all this. A door bangs. Silence. Mick does not look at him. Silence. They do not move. Easton come in. He closes the door, moves into the room, faces Mick. They look at each other. Both are smiling faintly. Getting it? This is the connection of these brothers. Okay, this play, it is written in a modern society. Okay, where emotions, okay, these relationships, they are dying. They are not able to express these emotions. All right. So these emotions, they are dying. So they do not converse with each other, but yes, they support each other. This is the indirect support, but yes, at the same time there is lack of conversation. Both are smiling, but what? But how? Faintly. All right. Look, he stops. Goes to exit. Okay. Davis, I just come back. I just come back for my pipe, Easton. Oh yes. I got out and halfway down I realized, found you see that I hadn't got my pipe. So I come. Okay, so what basically they have done? They have kicked him out. Okay, so they have kicked the Davis out. But what Davis he returned. He said that he come back for his pipe. All right. So yes, that ain't the same plug, is it? You've been I still I can't get anywhere with it. Well, if you perceive, in my opinion, you will probably listen. Okay, see, nobody is paying heed to him. All right, and now nobody is listening. All right. You've been a good friend to me, you took me in, you didn't ask me no question. Getting it now, he's realizing it that how kind Easton was, okay, and how selfish he was. Okay, we can realize it. Okay, what favors, this is an important paragraph. Okay, this is an important paragraph. We will basically realize that how selfish, okay, how arrogant and how narcissist Davis is, this character of Davis. He has done each and every favor. Okay, he's just kind of apologizing. He was sorry about all his complaints. Okay, he's just trying to explain himself, and he's just trying to do what he's trying to do. He's just trying to ingratitude himself back. Okay, he just want that just Easton just should just take me in. Okay, he's just apologizing. He's saying sorry. All right, so this all these things, that whatever you have done, I know them places and all these things. Okay, just read this paragraph. I like sleeping in this bed, but you don't understand my meaning. Anyway, that one is my brother's bed. Your brother's? Anytime he stay here, this is my bed. This is the only bed I can sleep in. But your brother's gone. He's gone. No, I couldn't change bed. But you don't understand my meaning. Anyway, I'm going to be busy. I've got the shed to get up. I don't get it up now. I get it never go up until it is up. I can get started. I'll give you a hand to put up your shed. Getting it? Now he's like he's like I can do anything, I can help you, I can do for he's doing nothing from these weeks. He's just keep on taunting and doing showing all these tantrum. But now when he's kicked out of the house, he's like, okay, I can do anything. Okay, I can I can help you in all these things. I'll give you a hand. Easton, no, I can get it up myself. But listen, I'm with you. I will be here. I will do it for you. We'll do it together. Christ, we can change bed. You mean you're throwing me out? You can't do that. Listen, man, listen. I don't mind. You see, I don't mind. I will stay. I don't mind. I tell you what, I don't want to change bed. I will keep it. Anyway, Easton, no. Why? Why not? Easton, turn. You make too much noise. But look, listen here. I mean, what I'm going to do? Where shall I do? Where shall I do? Where I am going to go? If you want me to go, I will go. You just say the word. I'll tell you what. Though them shoes, the shoes that you give me, they're all all right. Okay. So now he realized that the shoes they were good, but Easton, he's just unmoved. Okay, and for this. Davis, he become more frantically he was pleading again and again to let him stay, but the reply was no. Okay, so yes, listen, if I got down, if I was to get my paper, would you I got okay, he's just being frantic. Okay, so yes, and after that the curtain descent. Okay, so this was the end of this act. So yes, what we have this play can be lauded is the reality of the modern life. Okay, this play can be lauded for the reality or the ability of the playwright to depict the life of 1950s or the modern age of the lower social class. Getting it? These are the people of lower social class. This is the way the people live there. Okay, so the most interesting fact about Pinter is that he focused much on characters. Okay, rather than giving any of the details of the outside the place they are living in, he was much focused on the character. And yes, we can say that this play it provide it indirectly, there is no mention, but yes, it indirectly it provide the historical, social or political information. Okay, how the society was at that time. Okay, especially in the terms of race and immigrant problems. Okay, so basically this Davis, he is an immigrant, he travels a lot. So yes, this whole play describe the race and identity. These are the major concern of the characters. Getting it? Especially for Davis, because he cannot take the criticize he for themselves, but he constantly criticizing people of other race. Getting it? But he cannot take that criticism to himself. When Easton finally said that you stink, you trouble me, he cannot take it. Alright, so Mick who tell him story about people, okay, and even Easton, okay, he is a bit of racist when he asked about the Welsh, and he told him that to Davis that where he was born. Okay, so yes, this is I think really a great play, and each and every character, it is they are these fascinating characters. Okay, and they present the sort of they represent the characters of society. Okay, so yes, so this way we have completed this play, and I think you get the detailed insight of the characters. Alright, so yes, we have completed it. Okay.